All right, so I'm just gonna go over the basic steps that you're gonna need to take to renew your passport in 48 hours or less. Make sure you check out the description. I've dropped in a step-by-step of how to get your passport in 48 hours or less. I've also dropped in some helpful links and other videos that I used to learn how to do this process. I hope this video is helpful, and let's jump into it. Your first step, call up the agency to schedule an appointment. If you're traveling within 14 days or less, you need to schedule an appointment with the passport agency. Call this number. I needed to call them about 7 or 8 times before the call actually went through, and they're working on Eastern Standard Time. So here's just their office hours, so you can get an idea of when to call them. Once you get a hold of somebody to schedule your appointment, they're gonna ask for your zip code. That's gonna set you up to your regional office. Since I was calling from Southern Idaho, the closest office was Denver, Colorado. So after talking to the agent to set up an appointment, turns out there were no appointments that next day. And so I asked him about another passport office in Tucson, Arizona. I was able to schedule the appointment for 1 p.m. the next day. And if your office doesn't have any appointments available the next day or the day after, you can ask about other regional offices that you could potentially schedule an appointment with. So here's a quick map of those regional offices so you can get an idea of where they're at. Link in the description of their locations. You can take a look at that, and if something isn't available that very next day, if you need it that next day, you can ask about a different office. Once you've talked to the scheduler, they're gonna get your email, and they're gonna send you an email. It looks like this. It's gonna have the basics that you're going to need to bring and how they accept payment at the specific office you scheduled with. This email is also going to have the DS-82 form that you need to fill out. Now there are 2 options. You can fill this out online, or you can print it off and fill it out with black pen. That's what I did. I printed it off, filled it out with a black pen, and brought it with me the next day to Tucson. The next thing that you're going to need is your passport photo. I got a passport photo in Tucson, so after I landed, drove to CVS, and I grabbed a passport photo. Once you got your passport photo, you're gonna need to bring either credit card, debit card, check, or money order. That was for the Tucson, Arizona office. That's what they accepted as payment. I'm not sure about the other regional offices. I would assume it's similar. Double check and make sure in your email what you need to bring for payment. Then you're going to print off your proof of international travel. So for me, I was flying out on Delta, so I just printed off my flight plans. They accepted that, but you need to bring that, otherwise they're not going to honor your appointment. So bring your travel plans and bring your driver's license. The last thing, I printed off the email that they sent me, because when I showed up and the guard opened the door to let me in, I was able to just show him the email that I got, and that had my specific appointment code that I set up with them earlier, and that let me in. Show up at least 15 minutes early for your appointment. I showed up about 20 minutes early. The guard at the door opened the door, asked who had an appointment at 1 p.m. I was able to walk in. I showed him my email. Then I went through the security checks, took a few minutes in line, and then I was able to get up to the window. After I went to the window and took a seat, a few minutes later, they took me over to another window where I was able to process the payment for my passport. And the lady was really nice, and she said there's a really good chance that I was going to get my passport that day, which is awesome. She said, here, take this receipt, use that as your ticket to get back into the office so you can go get lunch, and then just show this to the guard at the door and he'll let you back in. Show up before 2:45 because that's when we lock the doors. So I made sure that I was back in the office at like 2:20. I just sat and waited, and it was about 3:05 when they started calling all these people up to get their passports, and it was really exciting. I almost clapped. Some people almost cried. It was a good day. So that's how you can get your passport within 48 hours or less.